And now I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, screen sharing, and I'm going to share this screen. You should, let's see, share. You should see a screen that says Johns Hopkins University Vivian Thomas Scholars Initiative. Let's keep in touch. Is that what you see?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Well, first, thank you so much. I'm going to go through this presentation and then we'll be available to answer your questions. I'm going to talk today. So this is, if you can, please take out your phones really quickly and scan that QR code and fill out that form shortly. If you do not see the name of the program that you're interested in, you can type in your major there. And this information will be shared with all the other folks at Hopkins in our schools of arts and science, our school of engineering, our school of public health, and our school of engineering, school of public health, school of medicine. Yeah. And so if you're a social scientist or humanities majors, please know that despite the fact that majors listed are all STEM, this will go to our representatives in the College of Arts and Sciences, and you will not be forgotten. You will be included in our outreach. Okay, and if you would like to be in contact, and I'll show this again at the end of the presentation, if you would like to be in contact with me, here is the title of the presentation, which is writing a statement of purpose. If you scan that little QR code, you will have my contact information. So you'll be able to get in contact with me. So I'll leave that up for a few more seconds. Just pull out your phone, scan that QR code. It'll download my business card. After you do that, you can hit save it, done. And then you will have my contact information. I turn my phone off because every time, then it asks you, hey, do you want him to be in contact with, do you want him to have your information? If you say yes and you fill out that, my phone goes pop, 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 which is why the app is called Popple. Give it another few seconds, and then we will go. Okay. So the title of this presentation is called Writing the Statement of Purpose. And the Statement of Purpose is part of the summer research and graduate school application process. And it's really important because it's an essay, it's a comprehensive essay that allows you to tell the story of why you would be a good fit and a good match for the program that you're applying to, regardless of whether that program is a summer research program or whether it's a graduate school program. So at the end of this talk, I want you to know, let's see if I can, let's see, it must be control. You can see my pointer. So at the end of this talk, you should know what an admissions, you should know, come on, okay. You should know what an admissions committee seeks to learn when they're reading a statement of purpose, how to write the essay, and what to say, and some things that you probably shouldn't say. And it's not that it's necessarily bad, but it's kind of like you get a paper and you pass. You can pass with a C-, you can pass with a C, you can pass with a B, you can pass with an A. I want to give you some instructions based on years and years of experience, not just mine, but my colleagues across the country. We've been doing this for many, many decades. And so we got together, and now this is a presentation of some of the things that we've learned over the years. And this presentation changes a little as we begin to learn more, and the landscape in graduate education, summer research and training changes. Okay, but first, here are some reminders. Here's a bit of reminder. So in a very competitive applicant pool, the statement of purpose cannot take the place of multiple bad semesters academic performance. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, but in a very competitive pool, that's not something that you see often, but that shouldn't discourage you from ever applying to a program. It cannot take the place of weak letters of recommendation, nor can it take the place of a lack of research experience. The reason is, in these very competitive applicant pools, that's what your competition is going to look like. And so what you're doing is you're competing for a space in this program, in these programs, whether summer research or graduate. And ultimately, what you want that statement of purpose to convey is, face it, you want it. You have worked hard, You've worked long, you have a lot of people backing you, a lot of people supporting you. And so this is the culmination of the work that you've done, whether this work is for a summer research program, a post-baccalaureate program, or whether it's for an actual graduate program. So moving on, these applications, whether regardless of what kind of, they have two components: the subject, which is you, and the target, which is the reader. So you will be writing this application as a subject, targeting the reader, because you are trying to sway this reader or persuade this reader that you would be a great fit and match for the program. So these admissions application, again, regardless of the kind of program, are read by admissions committees, and these committees consist mostly of faculty members. So you are going to write this essay to sway a faculty member or faculty members who are on this admissions committee. So these are some of the things that they're looking for. Among the characteristics, the personal characteristics, they're looking for at your academic ability, how well you did in classes, your analytical ability, your persistence and motivation, your creativity and vision, your ability to multitask, doing more than one thing at once, your ability to write clearly and concisely, your ability to collaborate, and that your interests match those of faculty members in the program, because they want to be able to train you in the area that you say you have an interest. So basically, it's all about productivity. You are going to craft this essay to show that you're a good fit, a good match, and that you will be productive. So the statement of purpose has two different areas: substance, what you say, and style, how you say it. For example, if you're greeting someone, you can say, "Hello, how are you? How's everything going?" That's one way. The message is greeting. The style, that was a very formal one I just gave, and there's a very informal, "What's up?" So either way, you can do something formal, something informal. Again, substance, what you say; style, how you say it. So let's first talk about substance. So when we're talking about the statement of purpose and substance, these are among the things that you need to talk about. Number one, that you will be productive. Number two, that you have personal qualities that will allow you to succeed in whatever the opportunity is, whether it's a summer research program, a graduate program, a post-bac program, and that your interests align with faculty research at the place where you're applying. This presentation, in case you're writing furiously, my dear friends at UCF have handouts of this presentation that they can send you following the end of my presentation. So you can take as many notes as you want, but you will get a PDF copy, handouts of this presentation. So you can just, you can even take pictures of what you want of the screen, but you will get a copy of this presentation from my good friends and colleagues at UCF. So continue on with subjects, with substance. Here are some things. Number one, you need to let folks know, what do you want to do? That's what are your interests, your research interests, and do they match those of a faculty? Why is this your interest? What has led you to pursue graduate school or the summer research experience? What courses, what internships, what job? And ultimately, what is it that you want to do? What is your career goal, or what are your career goals? So again, what do you want to do? If you don't tell us, we don't know. What's led you to this? What degree are you applying to, and what area? Often students don't necessarily tell that immediately. And so we want to ensure that you are crafting an application and writing an essay, particularly that statement of purpose, that answers these questions. So also along those lines, you're going to talk about what professors you want to work with. Adversity. Have you had success overcoming adversity? Which could possibly follow this, blemishes. Now, sometimes this adversity is not necessarily academic. The Supreme Court made a decision a few months back talking about diversity. But guess what? It turns out for all of us who are from diverse, underserved, marginalized backgrounds, whether it's first generation, low income, first generation and low income, underrepresented, you're underrepresented minority in some other, in a discipline, whether it's you're from an area, let's say you're from a rural community where you don't have your internet broadband is not as strong. All of these are areas of adversity where you can talk about the things that you've overcome to be the success story that you are now. So we've talked a little about substance. Now let's talk about style. Remember, substance is what you say. Style is how you say it. So with respect to style, you want to leave the reader with the impression that you will be productive if selected to participate in the opportunity. And that's what it's all about. You want to make sure that they know that you are the real deal, like my colleagues at UCF and my colleagues at Vanderbilt, at Johns Hopkins, where I am now. So continuing on with style. Number one, you want it to be concise. You do not want to take 8 words to say what you can say in 2 or 3, because you have a premium of space and you want to make sure it should be evident that you are that it's well conceived. You want to use stories to highlight your strengths. And of course, you want to make sure that it is vetted. It should be vetted by not your friends, but folks like, your McNair program directors, coordinators, faculty mentors, etc. Because this is the essay that you're writing that everyone's going to read. So concise, well conceived, use stories to highlight your strength, and make sure that it's vetted. You're not going to tell folks, when we're talking about stories, you're not going to tell folks you're great. You're going to say something like, I've been told that my work is really good. I know that because whenever I do something, they said that, oh my God, you've just done this, like Raquel Toro, whenever something's done well, that's a Toro. Okay. Continuing on with style. Number one, why should they select you? You're not going to tell why you want it. The reason is they've created these opportunities because they know everybody wants it. But why should you be selected to participate in this opportunity? It should be customized to the program that you're applying to, and it should be conversational in tone, like you're writing to someone in your discipline, but not necessarily your subdiscipline. Got it? Do not lecture them. Imagine that let's pick on psychology. Imagine you're you're applying for a psychology opportunity, and you start off by saying, psychology research has to do with the mind. Well, do you think a group of faculty members in psychology have any idea? Yes, they do. So you don't want to lecture them. You want it to be conversational in tone. So when you're doing that, the words that you choose are going to be really important. So let's talk about more so words that you shouldn't use. These are not necessarily bad words, but the whole point is, by doing this, we tell you, please don't use these certain words. And the reason is that it can make people do that. And that's what you don't want. You want them to have a very positive reaction. And some of these things may not be evident on the surface, but you definitely want to make sure that you are not causing people to have this reaction for whatever reason. So let's talk about some of these words that I and my colleagues from around the country, again, we got together over a few weeks and came up with these words that we discourage you from using. Number one, and these are in alphabetical order: blessings. Again, you don't know who's on that committee, and you don't know what they feel about research, about religion. So when you use these words, you can accidentally cause somebody to have a reaction that you weren't necessarily expecting. It's not necessarily a bad thing to say them, but you don't want anyone to be distracted from the work that you've done and how good a fit and match you are for this opportunity. Number two, dream. How do you dream? With your eyes closed. Nobody wants to research you. Nobody wants anybody to do research with their eyes closed. So dream, not necessarily the best words. And by the way, I'm also going to give you a list of words that I would encourage you to use if you can. And I think these are words that you can possibly use in your essay. Next word to discourage: enrich. Enrich. We're not talking about breakfast cereal, enrich with vitamin C. Don't do that. There are much better words. You're scholars, you're emerging scholars. And so enrich is not necessarily the best word when you're writing about research. Again, some of these words can be used in conversation, but now you're talking about an academic essay in which you are trying to convey the strengths of your candidacy for this opportunity. Esteem. Esteem, renown. This comes off as as sycophancy. You know what that is? Kissing up. Esteem. Nah, don't use that. Yeah, they know that they're esteemed, blah, blah, blah. That's why they're giving you the opportunity to join them. Next on the list, fascinated. Again, not very academic words when it comes to these kinds of essays, when you are talking about the strengths that you bring into this program. Humor, honor, because we'll talk about humor later. Honor, again, it's like esteem. Honor comes off like esteem and renown. Yeah, no, leave it. Again, it comes off as sycophancy. You definitely don't want to do that. Next is intrigue. Listen, we're writing a statement of purpose, not a spy novel. Leave the intrigue for the television and for the reality shows. Love, unless you're doing something perhaps with some kind of counseling, leave the love out of it. Yeah, no, don't talk about love. You're not trying to write an emotional essay. However, your experiences and what you write about can have a strong emotional impact. And that's what you want to do. You want people to know exactly what you've done, but you also want them to know that, this is a part of, what you have or what you want to bring to the table. The favorite word, I call it the P word, passion. This is probably the most overused words on essays. Think about it. If you talk to all your friends and people that you know who've written these essays, just think about it. How many of you have used, just ask yourself if you've used the word passion or passionate. And I would say I'm willing to bet well over 80% of the people on this call have used the P word, passion. It is used, if you can imagine, just the people you know. Now take the rest of the people in your department. Then take the rest of the people in your school at your institution. Then take the number of people at your institution. Then take the number of students from all the institutions who are applying. And everybody's talking about passion, 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 passion. It's the most overused words, and it becomes really distracting. And it's like, oh God, you're passionate. And it's really funny because when you talk to folks about this, they'll ask you to express your passion. Well, you can express your passion without using the word passion. Got it? You can express your interest, your desire, etc. Next, piqued. Yeah, just not. Yeah, this piqued my curiosity. No. You're scholars. We've got better words for you to use. Now, here's one. It's not necessarily bad. Researching, or research. These are things that we say in conversation. However, we would discourage you from using it in an actual essay. Moving on, here's one. Taste. We're doing research. Unless you're doing something with the olfactories that keep your mouth closed, no, don't go tasting anything. OSHA has rules against doing that in the laboratory. No tasting. And finally, thirst. Yeah. I've learned, I guess I'm much older than most of the folks here. And yeah, that word doesn't quite mean what it used to mean. But let's leave the thirst off of our research, our statements of purpose. Okay, so now that we've talked about words which I discourage you from using, again, please don't. If you don't have to, please don't. Let's be positive, because that's why we're here. This is what UCF and this program and Grad Prep, and this is what it's all about. So now let's talk about some encouraging words. And we want you to be able to use some of these words, and we want you to have the success that you've been working toward in all your scholastic endeavors. So the reason that we're doing this is when you use these words, which convey strength and confidence, you cause people to have this kind of reaction, which is this, and that's what you want. So we're going to help you convey your strength, your desire, all those things that you want, because you've been working hard for these opportunities, so we want you to get it. So using some of these words will cause people to have this reaction. So let's move on stylistically to these encouraged words. Commit. These words display confidence. You are committed to research. You are committed to being great scholars in the McNair programs. So these are the things that these are the reasons why you're pursuing these opportunities, because you are committed to your success, and perhaps you're committed to, raising the profile of your family, your community, whatever. But commitment is a strong academic, confident research word. Curiosity. Don't be fascinated. Where do you go from there? You're curious. That's what young emerging scholars are. That's why you pursue research, because you are curious. Your curiosity has led you to pursue research and get answers to these questions. Next word, demonstrate. Because you are committed, you have demonstrated your curiosity by being a member of McNair and pursuing research opportunities. See how I just did that? I used all three of these words in a sentence to show strength and confidence. Next word, examine. When you're talking about any work that you've done, you can talk about, you always have to talk about, what is the question that you're going to answer? And so to answer this question, you can examine previous results, you can examine literature, there are many ways that you can do it, but examine is a strong, confident word. Initiative. Because you are committed and curious, you took the initiative to pursue research that examined a topic and demonstrated these results. Well, look what I just did. See, this is what happens when I get together with folks in the McNair community. You inspire all of my creative thoughts. Intend. Here we go again. You intend to pursue this research experience. You intend to pursue a PhD because it is, it is what you do. You're not going to say, I would like, no. Your competition at these other schools, no. You intend, and this is what McNair is about. You intend to get this degree from this institution, or you intend to participate in this program. You're not asking them, you're telling them you intend to do this. And if I don't do this at your institution, I will do it someplace else. Why? Because I'm committed, right? Intend. Next, investigate, because that's what your research will lead you to do. Your research will lead you to investigate things, and during those investigations, you will examine different aspects, because why? You've taken initiative. And from your results will let you know, they will demonstrate you learn or found. Next word, and the final word, reveal. So these are not all, but these are very strong words that you can use in your statement of purpose to convey the point that, yes, you want me. Remember that? Face it, you want me. And by conveying strength and confidence and competence, you'll be on your way. And finally, I forgot the word suggested. Now, when you're writing this essay, you are definitely going to be talking about folks that you've done research with in the past, whether that's been at your institution, during the summer, or wherever it's been. So one of the things that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to talk about the folks you work with, right? And we call that name dropping. So when you are doing name dropping, you want to make sure that the person reading it can understand and contextualize the person you're mentioning. Give me an example. So there are people at your institution, but sometimes at other institutions, they may not know the person you're working with. So let's say you're at UCF and you did research at Hopkins and you're applying to, let's pick up my friends at FIU. So you're at UCF, you did research at Johns Hopkins, and you're applying to a summer research or graduate program at FIU. So keep this in mind. If the person is not at the institution where you're applying, do not simply cite them as Dr. Don Brunson. They don't know what kind of doctor you are. They don't know whether you're a chiropractor. They don't even know whether you have a research degree or just a professional degree. That's really important. So instead of saying, during the summer 2023, I studied in the biology department at East Section University in the research group of Dr. Don C. Brunson. They don't know me. You can say, during the summer 2023, I studied in the biology department at East Section University in the research group of Don C. Brunson, PhD, Assistant Professor of Pathology. Now, wait. So now this says, this person, Don C. Brunson, has a research degree, a terminal research degree, and holds the academic rank of assistant professor in this department. So here, they don't know who I am. They have no idea. Just because I'm in the biology department, I could be someone who has a background in teaching, and I could be, in the biology department, and my scholarship can be in scientific learning, which is different because now I say I hold the rank of assistant professor in this department. You see, much more clarity. You have allowed them to understand and contextualize who Don C. Brunson is. So now, now let's flip the script. This time you're at UCF, you've done research at Johns Hopkins, but this time instead of applying to a program at FIU, you're going to be applying to a program at Johns Hopkins. If that is okay, if that is the case, then it is okay to cite the person as just Dr. Justin Credible. Why? Because it's one of their colleagues. So they're at the same institution, so they will easily know that the person that you work with, they'll know that person by rank, by department, etc. Okay? If they're not at their institution, you definitely want to cite them as with name, degree, and program. If it's not, you can just say that. So in that case, you would say something like, my first research experience was in the social sciences REU program at your university. I worked in the psychology department in the lab of Dr. Penny Lane. That's perfectly fine, because you even look at the words you're using. At your university. So you're letting them know this is one of your colleagues. That colleague is in this department, and that's the colleague's name. Understand? Okay. Now, when you're writing these essays, here are some strategies. Number one, you're going to look and see if you're given some kind of prompt. And often they'll ask a question. If so, you're going to answer the question. If they haven't, then what I'm going to do is to give you some questions that you can specifically answer. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at those questions, and then you're going to take each individual question and you're going to write each one. You're going to answer each one as if it's its own separate essay. And by answering these 4 or 5 questions, you're going to end up with about, anywhere from 10 to 15 pages, single space on your screen. And don't go cheating using some ultra large font. No, it should be like a 10 or 11 font. Yeah, we know those tricks that you all do. But yeah, and you're going to need at least 10 drafts. So please do not plan to write this over a period of a week, 2 weeks, a month. Yeah, despite the fact that you might have had an essay that you wrote in the past to get into another program, this one is much bigger. And here's what you might not actually know. Despite the fact that you and somebody liked it, you might have gotten into the program despite your essay, not because of. So what I want you to do is to ensure that you have the best essay possible. You're going to answer some of these questions. You're going to take each one of these, and remember, when you're answering these multiple questions, you might even repeat things from question to question. That's okay. The important thing is to get it out of your head and onto the screen. So also when you're writing, here's something. Number one, skip the humor. You don't know what other people think funny. Years and years ago, when I was at another institution reviewing summer program application, there was a student from New York that said, if I am admitted to this program, I'm going to bring a New York swagger. Now, I was the youngest person on that committee, and no one else on that committee, everyone was, from a majority background, and they were over 60. And they said to me as colleagues, Don, what is this New York swagger? And I said, maybe it's some kind of scented oil. I guess it smells nice. But yeah, that was humor gone wrong. Leave the humor out. The other thing, skip the flashy opening. When I was 6 years old, no. You have a page and a half to 2 pages if it's a PhD program or graduate program, a page to a page and a half if it's a summer research program. Skip the flashy opening, launch right into it. You do not want the readers to have to play Where's Waldo? Well, what program, what degree, etc. You're going to tell them right from the start, and I'll give you. So the big thing, the takeaway, launch right in. Nothing, just launch right in. And when you're talking about that, we're going to talk, the heart of this statement of purpose is the opening paragraph. And so you're going to use that opening paragraph. I know many of you like movies. Think about it. When you watch a movie, or whether it's at home or in a theater or wherever it is on your phone while you're waiting, remember there's always this opening scene, right? And with this opening scene, you are setting the stage. And based on that opening scene, you're like, oh, I think I really want to see this movie. Or yeah, you might have, or that opening scene said, this looks like it's going to be a bit of a stinker. So that's why this opening scene is really important, just as this opening paragraph in your statement of purpose is important. So in that opening paragraph, these are the things you want to do. You want to let folks know, again, what do you want to do? What are your research interests, and do they match faculty interests? Why is this of interest to you? What has led you to pursue graduate study or summer research? And you're going to talk about things like you're going to talk about anything that you're going to want them to know. That's going to get them primed to read the rest of your essay. So here's an example of a strong opening paragraph in a statement of purpose. And this one comes from this student. This is from a humanities philosophy. This student says, look at this word, I intend to earn a PhD in philosophy to begin my career as a faculty member studying political philosophy. See that? What is it that you originally wanted, what you want to do? Career as a faculty member. Got it? My interests are, so what do you want? What are you interested in? Contemporary continental philosophy, particularly Foucault, Africana philosophy, post-colonial theory, political philosophy, feminism, and media study. The student goes on to say, in addition, as an African-American faculty member, I would like my research, teaching, and academic service to serve as catalyst to inspire future students of color to pursue a career in academia. You know just what this student wants to do, why the student wants to do it, and what the student wants to do afterwards. So you have set the stage for your faculty readers to say, oh, we know what the student wants to do. Now that you've set that opening, now we're going to talk about making the rest of the case. So in the remaining of your essay, what you're going to do is you're going to talk about, number one, your background, your interests. You're going to mention your experiences and explain why you're excited about the opportunity. You also are going to talk about those things, those personal qualities that you have. Those personal qualities, you're going to talk about your diversity or your adversity status, what you've overcome, and if there are any blemishes on your record. Now, because of the Supreme Court, we don't talk about diversity anymore. We talk about adversity. Why? Because people from underserved and marginalized backgrounds often have to overcome adversity. So here's an example, discussing a research experience. This student, a former McNair student who now holds a PhD, the student says, I participated in a project at Columbia University's history department. Look at these words: strong, confident word, utilize, examine, illustrate, solidify. Goes on to talk about, despite the fact that my research used a historical framework, I later came to understand I was incorporating sociological and psychological concepts. Putting it inside, someone says, oh, history is the humanities. Yes, but I use very strong research techniques. The students went on to talk about my results, illustrated the microsystem values, goes to talk about the exosystem barrier, such as limited childcare availability and long waiting periods for drug treatment, prevented many pregnant women from receiving the treatment that they needed. Working on this project, not only to look at this, solidify my interest in research about marginalized women's experience, but also help me learn the importance of using multiple disciplines to tackle complex questions about race and gender identity. That's an example of talking about your research experience. Basically, you want to tell, what did you do? Why does anybody care? What did you learn? And what does it all mean regarding your staying in research? Another question that we talked about specifically, what faculty members do you want to work with and why you're applying to that program? This student goes on to say, I feel that the interdisciplinary nature of your English doctoral program would complement my research interests. The student goes on to say that they're specifically talking about faculty members whom I would like to work with, include Professor Jones, I changed the name, whose incisive studies on African-American literature have guided my own research, and Professor Smith, whose inquiries into pedagogical approaches would aid me in my research on children and comics. Understand? They're talking about what they want to do and what faculty members. Didn't just mention the name, but let all the readers know that I know what these specific faculty members do, and this is why I've chosen those faculty members as ones that I want to work with. This student, how has adversity shaped your interests, your journey? This student, she says, I carried me, look at this, the first in my family to pursue education as an immigrant born in the Philippines. She goes on to say she wants to be a role model. I want to serve as an example to the Filipino and other minority communities as an outstanding, successful female professional. She goes on to say, by pursuing and achieving a graduate degree, I feel that I can bring awareness to the Filipino community and other minority groups of this imbalance in the science community and contribute to breaking some of the barriers that minority groups are limited by. Moving on, sometimes bad things happen to good people. To that end, what happened? So this student says, so you don't make excuses for your bad thing. This student, look at these words: strengths and confidence, resilience, create, develop, implement it. It says, during my sophomore year, I suffered an injury which caused me to fall behind in my classes and miss a significant amount of work. Instead of getting discouraged and falling behind, I developed a plan of action and implement it. The student does not go on to talk about the horrible, unfair faculty members, but nope, I realized I had this problem. I developed a plan and implemented it, and goes into, without, not drawing this out. One single sentence. This plan included increasing my meeting time with my professors and adjusting my schedule to maximize the time needed to study and get back on track. Not drawing it out, not making it real long, a simple explanation. No excuses. I had some trouble. I suffered an injury. I got behind in my classes. I made a plan. I implemented. This was the plan. And the student finally goes on to say, I'm prepared to apply these skills and this drive to succeed in my graduate work at your school. So your takeaways from this presentation. Number one, remember that this essay is going to tell the story about why you are a good fit and a good match in the program in your own words. You're going to take at least 10 drafts of answering those questions about faculty members, your research interests, your adversity, etc. So it's going to take you a while to write. And finally, after those 10 to 15 pages that you have, you're going to do a lot of editing. You're going to add transitions, etc., etc. If you're applying to a graduate program, it's going to end up with 1.5 to 2 pages of summer research. It's not unusual for those to be a page and a half. And now your tasks. If you haven't started, I need you to get started immediately. Number two, use these tips to get it right if you've already started. And finally, get it vetted for insurance. Why? Because you want to make sure that you've written the strongest essay. You want to give yourself every chance to succeed. So for those who came in a little bit late, please take out your phone, scan this QR code so we can stay in touch with you about research opportunities at the Johns Hopkins University. And so at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take, and let me go back all the way back to the beginning real fast so that I can, so I can, in case you want my contact information, here again, come on, work with me. Giving you my contact information so that you, in case you want to get in contact with me about anything, this is that first QR code to get. And this is my contact information. Scan this QR code. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can talk to you. I'm unable to monitor the chat. Wow, we have a lot of folks in here. So I'm going to escape. So at this point, please feel free to ask anything that you want. I'm going to ask my dear friends at UCF to help me with any questions. You can raise your hand if you want, and we'll recognize you. I have my dear colleague at Johns Hopkins, Dr. Noel Vargas. Again, she's absolutely phenomenal. So any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer them. So we do please, questions.
Yeah, we do have, oh, I'm so sorry. We did have some questions in the chat. So the first one is, are all these words also a good fit for MBA programs, such as law or business, or only for PhD research programs?
So if the business program is, if you're talking about, for example, an MBA, not necessarily. Let me tell you why. Because those are professional programs. Those are practitioner programs. Whereas the statement of purpose is usually associated with research programs. So if you're applying, for example, the med school, it's going to be much more personal. Whereas this statement of purpose is less personal. You probably heard people talk about personal statements. Well, the personal statement is a different essay than the statement of purpose, although they have some of the same elements. The personal statement is much more personal. And your experiences, it depends on the program you're working. So for law, you're probably going to be doing a lot of interactions with others. So there are personal qualities that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to talk about collegiality and all these other things. Because in law, you always talk about the law firms. There are very few, individual attorneys. They're part. So you're going to have to do a lot of collaborations, and then you're going to have to do a lot of client experiences. Whereas research, you might be dealing with a lot of literature reviews. You might be dealing with bacteria or animals, and yes, you can talk to them, but I don't trust people who talk to bacteria. Okay. Next question.
Perfect. So Allison says, I'm curious as to why researching is on the list of words to avoid.
Researching is a conversational words. Like, for example, when you're talking to folks, there are things that you say. Like, okay, you could like when I see my dear friends at UCF, I say, hey, but I wouldn't start my email with that. I would say something like, hi, hello. So it's not that it's bad. There's some things that you say in conversation. Remember, this statement of purpose is an academic essay that's going to tell the story of what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what you plan to do afterwards, and why you are a good fit and a good match for the opportunity, and why you would be productive if selected for that opportunity. So it's not a bad word to say. It's just not among the strongest, most confident words and conveying competence.
Perfect. So then Lee's question is, Dr. Brunson, how long in advance should we begin outlining, drafting, and editing the statement of purpose? 3 months? 6 months?
I would definitely tell you, it depends on how much time. When I was an undergrad, my freshman year, I learned this thing called the Edwards time effort law. It says time times effort equals constant. So when you have a lot of time, you can put a little effort toward it. But if you have a little bit of time, you got to put a lot of effort. I would encourage you to start writing this thing 3 and 4 months out, because again, and to devote a significant amount of time, maybe an hour a day, because you're going to be doing a lot of editing. You're going to get all these great things that you've done over the years. You're going to get them out of your head and onto the screen. And by doing that, again, don't worry if you're answering these questions and you write something in one thing. Get it out of your head to those 10 to 12 pages, then you're going to edit out. Because there's some things that, you might have thought were good, but you're like, that's not really important to my story. Because again, you're conveying this story as the subject to the target, which is the reader. So I would say 3-4 months is fine. But if you want to go 6 months out, that's fine. Because you might go for 2 months and then you decide, you know what? This statement of purpose is a real stinkeroo and you got to start over. But because you started 6 months out, you got 4 months. And I can tell you, just personally, that's what happened to me. I was so proud of it. And then I was reading and I was like, oh no, this is really bad. And then I finally got it to some of my, the faculty members to vet it. And yeah, they took there weren't computers back then. They took the red pen mark. And so, yeah, I got back on track. So yes, 3 months is good. 4 months is better, but give yourself time, because once you get it done, you're going to send it out to you're going to get it out to your folks who are going to vet it, and you got to give them time to get it back to you. So just because you've taken 3 months and you're finished, doesn't mean that it's a good product. So yeah, the more time you give yourself, the better. And also, again, give them time to read it and get back to you. Remember, the folks that you're asking to read it, they have lives too, and they have families. And as much as they like or even love you, they don't want to spend all their time with you, regardless of what their jobs are. You know, at some point we unplug.
On the flip side, and I definitely understand the importance of giving yourself time. We have a student that mentions, what if you have 1 week? And so in that circumstance, we're going to work with what we got. And so one thing that we have here at UCF is the University Writing Center, which I'm actually going to put the link in the chat, because I would implore you to go visit the Writing Center this week. That way you can work with them on any stage that you are. If your time isn't, if you are needing to produce this a little sooner than later. So that's like my one recommendation for if you have just 1 week left to write this, write it and get yourself to the Writing Center to review it. Is there anything else that you would want to add to that, Dr. Brunson?
No, writing centers are wonderful resources. They especially can help you. Edit content on the style side, but substance, they may not be able to. They may not be able to help you with how you're describing your research, because that's a very specialized thing. However, they can tell you with how your description of your research, or your, the portion of your statement of purpose where you talked about your research, they can help you. They can help you understand whether you're telling a coherent story, because that's what this essay, the statement of purpose is. It is a story, as we said before. And so those stories have, they have actors, actresses, the folks that you work with. That when we talked about the name dropping, it's also part of you. So the answer is, if that's the case that you have, then you just take it into overdrive, use all of your resources, and yeah, they will work with you to get out the best product as possible.
And so I just want to be mindful of everyone's time. We do have 5 more minutes. And so I did skip over a question real quick. So I'm going to go back to it. After writing this essay, is it more of a one-size-fits-all, or do you have to make sure it is tailored to each program I am applying specifically?
So here's what you're going to have. So you're going to write the statement of purpose, and you're going to have, maybe 7, 8 paragraphs. Only one paragraph is going to change, because the other paragraph is going to be what you want to do, all your experiences. That's not going to change from program to program, department to department, institution to institution. What is going to change is the school that you're applying to and the faculty members. So you're going to write this thing, and then there's going to be one single paragraph that you're going to tailor to every single institution. You're going to talk about all the folks. You're going to talk about Dr. Todos, and you're going to talk about Dr. Vargas. Yeah, so you're going to talk about them and that. And then for the next school, you're going to talk about Dr. Toro, Dr. Alderando Jeffrey. Yes, so you're going to tailor that one paragraph to every, each different school. But the rest of it, who you are, what you've done, what do you want to do, that's all going to remain the same. So once you get that part done, then, part of that research is going to be investigating faculty at the institutions whose research align with yours.
Perfect. And then, so I do see a lot of reactions to another question, so I'm going to go straight to it. Do you think mentioning overcoming struggles with mental health is appropriate? And then in parentheses, for a psychology student, ?
The answer is yes, because that is part of your story. Because you have to, as everybody, all of the folks at UCF will tell you, this research it's not a straight pathway. There are going to be many obstacles. And yeah, there's going to be, and if you're in an experimental discipline, there's going to be a point where 85 to 90% of what you do is just going to fail. But by talking about overcoming adversity, yes. But so the flip side is, you remember, this is not a personal, it's not a personal statement, and you don't know what the reaction is. So what you don't want to do is give them ammunition against you. You can just overcome. You can say, instead of saying mental health, you can just say it, I've dealt with some with personal struggles, blah, 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 blah. because yeah, you don't know how someone feels, and you don't want to bias them against you. However, every single person has had personal struggles that they've overcome. I would tell you, use your judgment, and it's like, don't overshare. Now, even if it's a psychology program, that doesn't necessarily mean that the folks reading it are going to be empathetic and sympathetic to you. Because remember, this statement of purpose is associated with research. And that's what this essay is about, showing that you are resilient, that you are overcoming. And overcoming a personal struggle is definitely a good thing.
I love it. So just being mindful of time, we have a question in the chat that says, I think this will be the last one that we discuss.
And if you'd like me to stay a minute, I can stay over. I'll do anything for you, so yeah.
We actually have another session afterwards.
Okie dokie.
But actually, that is a good point. So the wonderful thing about Dr. Brunson and his team is that he has come to Florida, to campus, throughout the years that we have built a partnership with him. And so, we love to host him. So if you want to see him on campus, you definitely want to stay in contact with AAP, so that you can find out when is the next time that he's going to be at UCF. Okay, so with that being said, our last question will be, so sorry, y'all kind of put some into the chat. If a faculty is having a bad reaction to sharing appropriate information about mental health struggle. Oh, okay. Okay, so someone mentioned a letter of intent and goal statements. Can you kind of maybe reiterate the difference between the personal statement and other types of statements, admission statements or admission essays?
Yes. So a letter of intent is that, in fact, it's a letter. The statement of purpose is an essay. The personal statement is an essay. Personal statement is much more personal. If you want to think about it, the statement of purpose is a combination of a personal statement and a research statement, as well as a diversity/adversity. So there are three different essays combined into one. And what sets them apart is the research statement is purely research. The personal statement is very personal. The statement of purpose is, and the adversity statement is putting those together, but less personal. And the reason is, remember, it's all about your productivity. So yes, so it is different. There are different components. Again, there are a number of graduate essays that you're going to be doing.
I was muted. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Brunson. So students, no worries. I'm going to be emailing we are going to be emailing the PowerPoint at the end of the week with the recordings of all of the sessions. So we just want to give a round of applause to Dr. Brunson and his team for being here with us. We sincerely appreciate it. And for the rest of the students, keep attending our Grad Prep Week events, and we'll see you tomorrow at the fair. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you for having me. And I still owe you that spreadsheet. I haven't forgotten you. I'll send that today.
Awesome.
On my conversation when I was at UCF. Okie dokie.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
Nice meeting you, Noel. Bye-bye.